And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success Morning Coffee on this Monday morning. I apologize for those of you who were here when I just started and stopped again, because you know what? I realized I didn't have it on TikTok Live, which is somewhere that I would like to have it all the time. So, well, we're there. We are on TikTok Live. We're on YouTube. If you haven't checked out the show, if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe, support the show however you would prefer. Patreon.com at Wes Tankersley would be one way to do it. You can also subscribe right here on TikTok. And so thank you to all those subscribers and all those people who are here. I typically try to remember to shout you out at the end of the show. It is Monday morning. It's been an interesting weekend, a tiring weekend for me. Just a lot of stuff going on. And I have realized that, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what's going on with me. I've been tired. It is what it is. And typically it's because my son has been waking up in the middle of the night, but that hasn't been happening so much. So time to start doing some other things. Need to exercise, need to maybe look at some supplementation, those types of things, and try and see if I can wake myself up a little bit more. And maybe it's just getting old. And it's funny because it's a constant reminder every single weekend when I go out and I work on the property. I haven't quite come to terms with what I'm going to call this joint yet, because, you know, I got 3 acres. It's not very much. I can't say it's a farm. I can't say it's a whatever. It's just where my house is, and I've got some property, and we have a lot of goals and desires and things to do with this place, but, you know, it's going to take time. Just like anything in life, it takes time. It takes work. It takes effort. And so this weekend was Mother's Day, and time to reflect on my wife, and, you know, just grateful for her. And I know it's the day after, but just happy Mother's Day to my wife. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. We got to do a few things on Saturday, kind of cruise around. And I actually had an appointment on Saturday, which I typically do not work on Saturdays. And I just took one because I had time, because my wife was actually off, which I figured, heck, you know, I'll do a couple in the morning or whatever and get going. Nikki, thanks for joining over on YouTube. I know we kind of hopped in and out. Yeah, so I took an appointment on Saturday. I went and did that at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And then I had a couple things I had to do. So, you know, you guys I've talked to you multiple times about my work vehicle woes. It's broke down a few times here and there, and finally it decided that it was done. So I had to go take apart something in the back of it, and I should be getting my new vehicle today. So pretty cool, pretty, you know, situations just kind of fall into place. And it's interesting how those things happen. This vehicle that I'm getting is kind of like my dream truck. And it just so happened that, you know, my boss is liking to get used stuff, and the dealership that he typically goes to is a Ford dealership, and I do not like Fords, and he is very good about letting me get what I would prefer as a vehicle, because when I started this job, I was lucky enough to say, hey, can I get a Chevy? And he's always found a way to make that happen he found a way to make that happen for me. The Ford dealership has a Chevy dealership in Montana, and he ended up getting me my vehicle from Montana. And I got to get, you know, a Chevy to drive around for the last 5 years. And then when this one broke down, I wasn't sure I was going to get what I wanted. And I had been thinking about this truck that I wanted for a very long time. And I always knew that, you know, probably not going to get it, probably not what I want. It's a little bit overkill for what I want, but it's a cool looking truck, and it's what I want. And so I'm excited. But it was funny how things had happened, because I've been thinking about this thing. I've been kind of visualizing driving this truck for a long time, whether it be at work or be in personal truck. And we ended up driving through the dealership when he was dropping me off to drop my truck off, so they could appraise it and look at what they're going to do for trade-in on it. And there it was, sitting there, the right color, the right truck, everything that I wanted. And I just said, hey, you know, they have a used one right there, because we were talking about probably trying to get one from the Reno dealership, because they have a Reno dealership as well. You know, we're in Boise, so it's a couple hours away, and we're going to make that happen, and ended up just having a truck sitting there, and we were able to buy that one. So super cool. So I get to get a ZR2 Silverado, which is pretty badass for a work truck. Pretty exciting. So Anyway, that was kind of my weekend, but I had to go I had built a like a bed deck in the bed so that I could put all my samples and make them easy to get to through my camper shell. And then I can store my ladder and all that stuff in there and make it work. So I was able to go and take that apart and get it all kind of set in the old truck. And then today we'll be catching that one and I have to move it back into my new truck. And just those types of things happen. And then yesterday for Mother's Day, we went to Home Depot and picked up a couple trees, and I did some work in the yard, and ended up kind of getting in trouble with that because my wife was like, "Oh, well, I want to take a nap," and it was what it was. So we got it taken care of. Trees planted, and I am sore because anytime I work on anything here, it's like you dig with a shovel, you rake, you're doing all this stuff that you don't normally do, and your body just doesn't get used to the fact that it's something that you don't do on a daily basis. So you're sore. Like today, I'm sore. Thank goodness for a leave because I could take a little bit of that. And that was why, and the truck thing was the reason why we didn't do anything on Friday, because we typically do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Friday I had to get up early to go get the other truck and move it, and busy day. Very lucky to be busy, very lucky to be willing to, or be able to work through a lot of these things that are going on. I talked to you guys about my situation multiple times. If you've been a listener of the podcast, you know that, things changed for me a little bit this winter, and my pay structure is a little bit different than what it was. And I was really concerned about being able to make it and live in the house. And we actually put the house on the market at one point, thinking that we weren't going to be able to survive or make it. And so I was listening to the 4 Agreements, which Michelle, I don't know if she's here or not. I don't think she is today. One of our Patreon, or one of our subscribers here on TikTok, had talked to me about this book called The 4 Agreements. And there are these 4 agreements, but the last one, and she reminded me of this other day, because there's the first 3 agreements, and then there's the last one. And when you can't make the first 3, there's always the last one. And the last one is the one that has always been something that has been on my mind. And so I was listening to Michael Jordan's book, and if you guys don't, obviously you guys got to know who Michael Jordan is, but he's always been someone that you've kind of watched, and I've kind of learned more about over the years about how hard he worked and how much he was willing to do in order to be better every single day. And he practiced harder than he played, and he became this awesome 6-time champion, leading scorer. And a lot of people will complain about, or try to say that, he's not as good as Kobe, or he's not as good as LeBron, blah, 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 blah. He's not the greatest of all time, this and that. And I have to tell you, the work ethic that this guy put in, the work ethic that he put in every single day to be the best that he could be, which is the 4th agreement, always do your best, is just amazing to me. It is amazing to the fact that this is how I live my life. I try to be the best that I can every single day. And when we have these goals, that we want to do, what we have to remember is that even when it gets hard, we have to remember to do our best. And it goes down to the little things. And I'm sitting there thinking about yesterday, how tired I was when I got to the second tree, but I just kept going, and I kept doing everything I could to get that job done. And then knowing that it'll get done no matter what. It's a super simple thing to be digging a hole to put a tree in. And you got to realize that. You have to realize that doing your best no matter what will get that thing done. And once you've accomplished it, you're going to be very thankful that you busted your butt and worked really hard to make that happen. Okay. So remember that today, every time you think about giving up or whatever it is. And the funny thing, how I'm going to tie this all together with me, is that I was worried that I wasn't going to make it, that I'm not going to survive, that something was going to happen. But what I am finding out, because every single day I do everything I possibly can to make sure that the sales happen, that I'm getting things done, that I'm working my ass off, it happens. And I'm fine, and I'm going to be fine. I just have to continue to work my ass off. I just have to continue to do my best. And my best is good enough, but I am never satisfied with that. So when you think about that, you're unstoppable. Remember that working your butt off, doing the best you can no matter what, is going to be rewarding in the end. So I'm going to pop a couple of these Michael Jordan quotes here, and I've got a couple things written down that I want to talk to you about too. But just remember today, as you go out there, whatever it is, whatever your goal is, do your best. So if you haven't listened to Michael Jordan's book, he's got a couple books. I'm trying to think which one. The one that I read is not actually by him, but it's about his life and where he came from and how he did what he did. But he says, my attitude is that if you push me towards something that you think is a weakness, then I will turn that perceived weakness into a strength. And so I think about this. I think about like David Goggins and how he talks about that. This is kind of the same thing that David Goggins does. And Jordan did this as well. So when he would go into a game, he'd watch the film or he'd do whatever, he'd be working at practice, and someone would tell him that he couldn't do something. He would go out in that game and he may lose the game to you the first time, but he used the fuel from the last time to realize and figure out what his weakness was and to go and practice that and to get good at the thing that he wasn't good at so that he could be better at that. So the next time he could beat you, and then he'd go out the next game and he would show you that that wasn't him. So a lot of times they'd figure out they had these Jordan rules where they would double team him or they would knock him down, foul him, hurt him, do all these things that they could do, and then and stop him. And then the very next game he would go out and he'd figure out a way to stop that double team or work around that or show them that they couldn't do that because he figured out a way, he found a way. And you have to be that person where you will find a way no matter what. If they're fouling you, if they're pushing you, if they're telling you you can't do something, prove them wrong. If you're not good at something, practice that skill over and over again so that you can be better at it, or find a way, find someone to help you do the thing that you're not good at. Do the thing that you don't have time for, but always keep moving forward. Always keep pushing towards that. With that attitude where you take that weakness that you have and you turn it into a strength by doing it over and over again, and people telling you that you can't do it, prove them wrong. I was watching this clip and I posted it on my Instagram story of Dr. Dre, and he said the ultimate form of revenge is success. When people tell you that you cannot do something, prove them wrong. Show them that they are wrong. Be successful in what that is. And if you want to have revenge on that person, prove them wrong. Just keep going. Keep doing it. You look at Michael Jordan and you look at all these people and you think of them as being the best at what they do no matter what, right? They're working and they're hard. They're doing everything that they possibly can do. But you have to remember that they have failed. And just that same example that I gave you when he'd go out and he'd get fouled and he'd do all the things that he could do but still couldn't be successful, he still went out there the next day and tried again. And that's the thing. Like when you have that mentality that no matter what, nothing can stop you, then you're going to be better. This quote that he said here is, I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Failure is not a moment to quit. Failure is an invitation to try again, to be better, to work more, to continue to try, to hone that skill and succeed when you are done. And you're never done though. That's the great thing about it. Like you can be done and you can be successful that time, but you have to be willing to adjust, to navigate the situation. Maybe you're working on something and it requires a pen and you're writing, and guess what? They take away your pen and you can't write anymore. Can you go grab a pencil? Can you go find something to write with? Can you figure it out? No matter what you're doing, there is always a way to find out how to be successful and keep moving forward and keep doing the things that you can do. It may not be as easy as what you thought it was. It may not be that path or that way that you thought that you got there. There's this curvy line. I remember someone was drawing like my goal, right? And if you've ever seen this, it's like, here's my goal. Here's my start point. I'm holding the thing up. So it's like a straight line, right? But then they take this pen and they start drawing these squiggly lines and circles and all this other stuff. And there's more than one way to get there. They got there, but they just had to take all these crooked paths and all these odd angles, but they made it there. So it's not always a straight line. It's not always straightforward. It's not always going to happen the first time. You have to be willing to keep pushing. Failure is like that. And this is the last one we're going to talk about right here. there are a lot of barriers. There are a lot of things that stop us. There's a lot of things in the way that can keep us from getting where we want to go. We are people who like things instant. I call it instant gratification. We sit here and we work our butts off and we want something to happen right away. And it doesn't always happen that way, right? There's always going to be something that's going to stop us. Our job is to not let that be the thing that freezes us, that doesn't let us move forward, right? Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. So whatever obstacles you have in your life, whatever things that are stopping you, there is a way around it. And if you go through that mentality again, and it all goes back to this fourth agreement, do your best. If you are doing everything you possibly can, you will continue to work. You will continue to think through it. You will continue to find a way. I hope that you have a great Monday. Go out there today and find a way. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Nikki Pavlovich and Anna Mellon. Thank you to our TikTok subscribers, Nikki Pavlovich, Michelle, Clarity Anchor, Lance Ayers, Frank Hogue. We appreciate you all. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.